All right, here we are. We're going to take a look at today at input boxes. Before we'd use some made dialog boxes, message boxes to give feedback to the user. They don't give us a lot of opportunity to get input from the user, and that's where we have input boxes are another pre-made dialog box that can help us gather information from users. So I just got a little demo program here that is going to ask the user for their name and age. You notice that there aren't any text boxes on this form to enter this information. A lot of times we might just try to gather some information from the user one time to use for something. Doesn't really make sense to have a text box on the form all the time if we're just going to ask them for some information just once and then we don't need it again. So that's where an input box might come into play. So for this program right here, when it runs, it just asks them for a name. They say okay, prompts them for an age. I guess I'll have to admit to that. Say okay, and then the name and age went into labels on the form. Okay, so the code to do that is pretty straightforward. I've combined a couple of steps here where I dimensioned a couple of these variables and then told them they were equal to input boxes that show up. This is all in a form load event. So as soon as the program runs and loads the form, this pops up first. You'll notice that the name is a string variable, and that's what an input box does return, is a string of text. So in the input box prompt here, you have a set of parentheses. The first part of text here is the prompt, what they're told to put in. The next thing is the text that you want displayed on the window of the input box. A little trick here, if you want the text to be the same as it is on your main form or your program, just type me.text. It'll access the text property of the form and put it in here. You could do that with message boxes also. And then the third thing here is just a default text that we can put in there. This is optional. You wouldn't have to have default text in there, but you can. So that default text will show up if they just clicked OK without typing in something. That would go in there. And then we have age also. Now age, here again the input box returns a string of text. If I want that to be an integer to do something with it, I have to put that string of text through the val function to make it a numerical answer here, an integer. So that's all that's going on to collect that information. Now, one thing we should do as we're using input boxes is take into account if they put nothing in there or they click cancel, then nothing gets returned, especially if we don't have this default answer in here. So if the string name is nothing, what are we going to do? I've just got a little if then else here that's saying if it's nothing, say username was not entered, else put in what they put in the text box into string name into the label. Same thing here with age. Now if they do nothing there, the val function is going to convert that to 0. So if it's 0, I'm going to say age is not entered. Give them one more opportunity to put in their age. And then if they don't, it's going to just put 0, or it's going to put age not entered in there because that was what it defaulted to. Okay? So it's just one of those things you need to do is always account for if nothing is put in there, then what are we going to do? Now, there might be a situation where you want that information and you're not going to let them do something else until that information gets put in. So for example here, I've got a little do loop down here that I had commented out to run it the first time. But if I take those comments out of here, basically this loop runs and string name's going to give an input box put up here, right? Please enter your name again, and it's going to loop until string name is not equal to nothing. We gotta do a couple things here. Let's take this out so that it doesn't run this portion of it. But then let's see what happens here. Let's take out the defaults too. These are optional, so we'll take that out of there for username. But now if I run this and I just say OK, it puts up the age box still here. Just say OK there. gets to, but now see how the name keeps popping up. And now if I'm on that part, it won't go anywhere until I do put in a name. So if I need to give some information and I'm really going to force them to do it, I could put in some type of looping structure until they put it in. Now age wasn't entered, and because of the order of this, it didn't put the name in there. I should have moved this up. I had the place where they put the actual variable into the label, I commented out, so it didn't go in there, but it did let me out of the loop. So just a couple quick little easy things with input boxes there where you can utilize those to gather information from your users.